Okay, hello, Dames Handsome. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Hi there.
Oh, good. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
I'm definitely happy to be invited.
So, I'm looking at your bio. You're originally from Wisconsin and you're now living in Korea. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm from the backwoods, Wisconsin. My nearest neighbor was a mile away.
Oh, wow. Okay. How did you end up in Korea?
Well, that one, actually, kind of funny story, but I could cut it pretty short. I had finished up a job with a computer company, and I was looking to work somewhere else. And I put my resume online. At the time, it was what Monster Jobs was the big one, and I kept getting the same sort of company wanting me to work with them that I was leaving, and I really just wanted to try something different. And suddenly, out of nowhere, I saw a Korean school looking for people to teach there. And I thought, wow, that's so different, and that's quite amazing. Actually, I didn't know this sort of thing existed. And my mom's a teacher, my older brother's a teacher. I thought, well, maybe it's in the blood. And yeah, I went ahead and I took that job, and I have been here ever since.
How long have you been there?
15 years.
Oh, wow. Long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are you teaching? You teaching English?
I teach English, and also I have a few positions here, but one of my positions is as a resident professor at the local university. And in that capacity, I sometimes get to teach other topics as well. But I, in that case, I usually have to learn the specific English to the field. Like one example, I did classes for crew members of Korean Air, and for that one, the airline company, actually sent me a book full of terms that I had to learn. So I became proficient in all the aeronautical terms, and then turned that into a class.
Well, you're here to promote a book. Is that correct? Your book is called Fairy Nights?
Yes, yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Um,
It's a children's book.
yep, yeah, that's a children's book that I actually accidentally kind of started writing. Um, like the very first book was started with a game, if that makes any sense.
Well, like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, yes, like that. I had played a game with my son earlier called Dragonfire, which was a kind of Dungeons and Dragons type board game. So I knew that he got interested in this stuff, and I'm very interested in this stuff. So the next step was I went ahead and I made a easier Dungeons and Dragons type game myself, and then had my wife and my son play it with me. And we all had a lot of fun with it. And it was all about fairies. They both of them made a character that was a fairy that existed in this kind of multiverse where anything could go, anything could happen. And they went through different fairy tale adventures to make the world a better place. And we played that game, and I had so much fun with playing that game that I decided I had to write it down for my own posterity so I could remember it in the future. Because these things tend to get cloudy over time, and I really did not want to forget that. So it kind of interesting, and I wrote that down, and then after that was written, I went back through and I decided to make it into a story that I could read to my son. And I did that, and I read the story to my son, and he loved it. And then it sat on my computer for almost a year, probably like 6 months to a year, somewhere in there. And occasionally I would share it out to various friends, and everybody liked it. And that's really part of how it started. Like it gets more complicated, but I feel like I'm jabbering on too long. So I'll stop it there.
No, that's
But
all
yeah,
right.
that's oh okay. Um, well, what really decided me then is after sharing it and people liking it. This is the first book of the series. I decided that okay, maybe I should publish it and see what happens. And I went ahead and I contacted my illustrator, Warwick Wilson. He's a friend of mine, personal friend of mine, and he teaches early childhood development at the university. So he's kind of an expert on all the kid stuff. And I wanted him first to look at the story and tell me, if it is good, if it is something that other kids are going to want to read. And second, he's also an artist and he loves making pictures and videos and stuff for the kids. So I asked him if he could make a cover and how much that would cost me. And this part is really cool. He read the story, he loved it. He got back to me and asked me if he could illustrate it because the original book was not supposed to. Well, I shouldn't say not supposed to. It wasn't going to have illustrations. I didn't have that in mind at all. In fact, when it comes to publishing, I had no idea what I was doing, right? So he jumped in. He became my he became my better half, I guess you could say, in terms of making these books. And so that's the history of the whole series right there. That's how it all started.
Let me ask you something then. So, the game that you guys created with your wife and your son, this became the book, and the book is sort of an outline of what you guys created?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Well, at least the first one. The very first book is based entirely off of the gaming session and what we created together. The only thing I changed was when I went through and decided to make it into a story, I added in a lesson that was made specifically for my son because one thing, fairy tales, they should have morals. And that was my thought when I decided to make this into a story I was going to read to him. And the second thing was he kept on going through this process of thinking he was very good at something and then failing at some aspect of it and then giving up on it, which is very common to the younger kids where they start something and they think, "Oh, wow, I'm a genius at this. I am the best at this in the world." And then somebody does it better and they quit because they think, "Oh, I'm the worst in the world. I can't do this." And so I added in an element there to the story that addressed that issue to him in a very personal way. And I think the lesson stuck because he hasn't been doing that recently. Or, yeah, recently. It's been a year, I guess, since the first book came out. So, yeah, he hasn't been doing that anymore.
Okay. Is there an educational element to this book? Your bio says it's a book series. How many books are there now?
We're up to 4 books now.
Okay.
Yep. And yeah, every single book actually has an issue written in. Given the success of that first moral issue, each additional book has a moral issue that kids face written into it. Uh, and kind of selfishly, I guess, because my son really loves these books and he looks forward to reading them. I One of the best sounds in the world was one time I woke up in the morning to him laughing in the living room, and I came out there, and there he was with my third book, reading through it, and I knew that it was entirely natural because I wasn't anywhere to be seen. He had just grabbed my book, he was reading it, he was laughing, he was having fun, right? But yeah, I wrap these lessons inside of kid humor, and each one just addresses an anxiety that my son is dealing with or has dealt with.
What age group is this series geared towards?
Well, it's geared towards my son, so specifically 10 years old, but
Okay.
from reader wise, messages have gone from people. It ranges on every kid's different, of course, but anywhere from 7 years old to 12 years old seems to be the range. And I I have academy students here also, which are all sorts of ages. And I had a middle schooler here in Korea say that she enjoyed it as well. And she's in eighth grade, so whatever age that is, 14, maybe?
Eighth grade? Yeah, okay. It's been a while since I've been at that grade level, but yeah,
Right,
I think
yeah.
that's about right. So that's what I was actually going to ask you, that if you had given your books out to your Korean students and if they liked it.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I keep a library. Like, I have the university, but I also teach at an academy here. It's me and my wife. My wife and I guess I should use proper English there. But anyways, it's our academy, and I keep a library on stock of numerous different kids titles and books, um, and of course my own books. I have one of or one copy of each book there, and they get checked out a lot. Students ask to take them home, and I never say no, right? So yeah, quite a few have read them, and a number of students here have actually bought them for their own libraries at home. Hey, I guess that's something I should mention. I would say most every Korean household has a very large library. So it's not too surprising that students have been purchasing their own copies to keep at home. It is quite heartwarming, though, and I feel very honored when a student tells me that they have gotten it that way. But yeah, yeah, students read it and they talk to me about it. Um, like I've even given out pictures for a coloring contest that I'm having, and a number of students picked up those Fairy Nights pictures and have been coloring them and sending them in. It's a
Okay.
lot of fun.
Did you
You know.
teach in the United States before you went to Korea?
No, no, I did not. But I was U.S. military, and at a certain after a certain amount of time, you become an instructor there as well. So I have teaching experience, but it's with people that if they don't listen to you, you get to yell at them and make them do push-ups.
All right. Well, let me hit one of the talking points on your sheet here, and then we got to wrap this up. Which this is a talking point that I don't quite understand, so maybe you can explain it. It says why he includes character stats sheets in the books.
Oh yes, well that comes from a few angles, I guess. The first off, it comes from a game, right? The very first book comes from a game, and so I included the character sheets that we used for that game. I included with the books, and I included the kind of physics of the game world in the story. So different characters have they have build, they have mana, they have their brain, their levels. They have all these stats, and the stats actually have a um, real concrete presence in the stories. The characters will level up when they've done something amazing that makes people around them incredibly happy, and everything is wonderful, right? And the characters will sit down and they will modify their stats from their level up, and the kids get to experience that. It's a lot like their games on Roblox. It's a lot like RPGs on the computer, right? In this digital age, a lot of kids will understand it immediately. One of the things my son gets excited about is the fact that this is a story that is real but has game physics, and that's what that is all about. And so in the story too, you get with mana, these fairies have magic and they can cast spells, but it isn't like Harry Potter where you just say the word and it happens. They have to be careful with how much magic they use. It's not bottomless. It's not limitless. Um, when they cast a spell, they have to choose how much of their mana they are going to use, and that affects how powerful the spell is. It also affects how much mana they have left and how much mana they can use for the rest of that day.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
so it has a very strategic element to the story.
Well, we do have to wrap this up. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Do you have a website for your book?
Yes, I do. And it's a very easy one to find, fortunately. That is dameshandsome.com.
Okay, you want to spell that?
Yep. Dames is Dames. And then handsome, handsome.com. I had to go over in my head, make sure I spelled that right.
Okay, great. Well, James Handsome, I forgot to ask you what was the significance of your name. Can you tell us real quickly where your name came from?
Yeah, I'll try to make it super fast. All right, so it's my pen name for the kid books, and part of it stems, well, it comes from two places. Dames was one of my nicknames in high school, and handsome actually comes from the fact that here in Korea, students often call you by your last name followed by teacher. So last name teacher. My last name sounds very much like handsome. So kids being kids, of course, they immediately change what my last name really is into this adjective just for the fun of having my
Oh, I
name
see.
be
Okay.
that.
So you're
Yeah.
handsome teacher. Well, that's good.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. Best of luck with the book series. I hope it does well.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.